Hello, welcome to my Creative Critical Reflection question 4. First thing I'm going to talk about in this question is the software I used. So the first thing in software is the grand sweep of Adobe products that I use. First one is InDesign. InDesign was where I made my whole magazine final product and its journey. It's a fairly complex software, but that becomes easy to use once you know the basics, which I knew a few of them from previous use. It was quite fun to use as I progressed because I started to admire the magazine I was creating, and I became very happy with the outcome at the end of the project. The next great piece of software by Adobe was Photoshop. This was really useful whilst I was using InDesign because any pictures I needed to edit or wanted to experiment with, I could click on the image and edit with Photoshop. And then once the edited image was saved, I could quickly link it to the image on InDesign, which was already open, and it was really easy to preview my before and after pictures from when I had edited them. And this helped me a lot along the way towards my final project of my magazine, and it made it really time efficient when editing photos and comparing them to my previous ones. Next was Illustrator. Illustrator was also quite easy to use. I did not use this for editing any photos or adding anything because all the text and blocky stuff I could add already in InDesign. Instead, I used Illustrator for my print layouts. So this was really useful from taking my print layouts from a paper format to a digital format, as all I need to do is take a picture and import that picture and draw over it on Illustrator. I also used Illustrator for making the thumbnails on my YouTube videos. And finally, in the big Adobe suite that I used were Premiere Pro, After Effects, and Media Encoder. Premiere Pro I had a bit of experience in, allowing me to quickly overcome the first few basics of the software for it being quite a complex bit of kit. After this, it was simple to complete what I wanted to do. I did stuff like my Creative Critical Reflection questions. I'll probably do this on Premiere Pro as well. My YouTube videos, if I needed a little editing in them, I did that in there, and it was just quite easy to use in the end, and I could add audio fairly easily. Next is Adobe After Effects. This was quite simple and was used for my podcast. The reason I use this for my podcast and not a normal bit of audio software was because I wanted the spectrum lines to appear for when I spoke, so it would bounce up and down, which you can see if you watch the video for when I speak. And then using After Effects to export it into a video format like I wanted to, I had to use Adobe Media Encoder, which was really simple. After I exported it into Media Encoder. It then rendered the whole thing, took it down, and I was able to download it really easily into a video file, which then was really easy for me to upload onto all my relevant media, so YouTube for some of my editing videos or my CCR questions. Next up, after Adobe products, were the simple ones like Preview on Apple products, like the computers I used. Preview was quite useful actually, even though it's fairly simple, for me to open up my photos and get a good look at them before I decided to use them or not use them. And then the next product was QuickTime Player. QuickTime Player allowed me to record my screen without having to download any of the products off the internet or different bits of software. I could then take these recordings straight to YouTube or wherever I was going to upload them, making it very simple to just record my editing process and stick it on YouTube for everyone to see. That is all for the software I used. Next up is the hardware I used, the simple stuff. So first things I used were two computers. I used a iMac 21.5 inches, mid 2014 I think. This was done for a lot of my editing, where I had a lot of my Adobe products downloaded. This was a really smooth piece of kit which allowed me to do loads of editing and video uploading with zero problems. Next was a 2017 MacBook Air. This was really good for when I wasn't at school on the iMac, or if I needed to do work elsewhere if I was away. It was really good for writing my blog posts and doing work from home. Next on the list is the camera I used to take all my photos, the pictures of the cars and the van and the badge in the grass. This was a Canon 70D with a 35mm lens. This is my dad's camera, but obviously I was able to use it, which also took away any form of costs in terms of the camera. It was a really simple camera, just turn it on and I was able to change a few settings and click to get the perfect photos. Yeah, I was really happy with this. Other simple bits of hardware that I used was my iPhone 11. This was mainly for communication with peers and occasionally my teacher, as I could contact that through the email on my phone. This was really good for when I was out of school or struggled to contact with my computer. And another bit of hardware was the printer at school, big office printer. This was really useful for printing out my magazine to see what it looked like on paper, because it looks different to the computer than it does on paper. And finally, my last bit of hardware, which I count as hardware, is the lighting. I use natural lighting, so this is just all sunlight, which was perfect for all my photos. Took away any costs or problems with unnatural lighting, and gave me the perfect lighting I wanted for all my pictures. And last but not least was everything I used online. So first up on my list is YouTube. YouTube, I uploaded all my CCR questions, my creative critical reflection questions, and some of my editing process. This was really easy to use. Next up is WordPress. WordPress is what I use to do all my blog posts and my whole blog. WordPress is really, really good to use. It's really easy to organize and embed stuff I need to, or present stuff the way I want to, with media mixed with text, or text in a certain format, or media in a certain format. So WordPress was really, really good. Next up was everything I used on Google. Google offer a great assortment of applications to use. One of them is Google Classrooms. Google Classrooms is where all my assignments were posted by my teacher, and it was really easy to look at the things I needed for this. Another one is Google Docs. Google Docs I did quite a few things of. This one of them is my photography plan, my research drafts, and my cost charts, which can all be found on my blog. Google Docs is, again, really simple to use, and I really liked it. Another basic one was just plain Google, the search engine. This helped me look up tutorials for the products I was using, software, and allowed me to do general research on bits of my magazine and other magazines. And last in the Google suite was Google Calendar. Google Calendar allowed me to do my planning, so put certain deadlines on certain dates and when I was doing my photography and stuff like that. This was really helpful as it pinged upon my phone, tell me when I need to do stuff. This was really, really useful. And then finally, moving on from Google, were the few different websites I used for different aspects of my media. So DaFont, or DA Font, this was good for looking at what fonts go with what. This was really, really helpful when designing my magazine, because I was struggling with what fonts to put on my front cover mainly. So yeah, that was really useful. Next is SoundCloud. SoundCloud is where I uploaded my podcast. I uploaded it on YouTube as well, but I also use SoundCloud. This was really straightforward to use. I just dropped my file in and gave it a description. So that was really easy to use. And finally, Canva. Canva is a website that allows you to create presentations. This was very useful for my creative critical reflection questions. So yeah, I created a presentation on that, which you'll probably see in. So Canva was really easy to use and really easy to design stuff on there as well. And that is it on all the technologies, software, hardware, and online that I used in my project. Thank you very much for watching and listening. Please check out my media channel, Finney and Gelder Media Studies, and my WordPress blog. Thank you. Goodbye.